Hey y'all, welcome to the Southern Appalachian Herbal Podcast. I'm Judson Carroll and I'm an herbalist. I'm also a wild crafter, a gardener, and herb grower. I'm coming to you from high atop the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina, just a stone's throw from the Tennessee line, overlooking the Pisgah National Forest, absolutely surrounded by the bounty of God's green earth. I spent most of my life wandering these mountains and learning about plants from the old timers and all sorts of characters. On this show, we'll talk about herbs and how to use them, how to find them, how to grow them, how to make preparations. We'll talk about a lot of things. We can also talk about permaculture, homesteading, foraging, and living off the land. Most anything, really. You can email me at southernappalachianherbs@gmail.com if you have a question or a comment. You can also contact me through the Grow Network, where I'm a regular contributor and a moderator for the forums. And my blog is, of course, Southern Appalachian Herbs at blogspot.com. All right, y'all. I'm going to sit my guitar down and let's talk about herbs.
Hey y'all, welcome to this week's show. Today we are going to talk about Goldenseal. Goldenseal is absolutely synonymous with the Blue Ridge Mountains where I grew up. It is one of the main herbs people hunt for. It is a fascinating herb, and it's an herb I don't use. And I'll get into that and I'll tell you why. Now, it's not that I wouldn't use it if I had some, but it has been hunted to the point of near extinction in many regions. So it's an herb I don't use for ethical reasons, but it is an herb I attempt to grow. Uh, it's a slow growing herb. I haven't had a lot of luck with it, but anyway, I'm going to tell you all about golden seal, and I'm going to give you a few alternatives. A few other herbs you can use in place of golden seal, which, as far as I'm concerned, work absolutely as well, and in some instances even better. So, before we get into Golden Seal, the main news this week, the really exciting announcement is that Hermes.com is doing a big promotion for my new cookbook. And I mean, that's awesome. I don't even know how many people Hermes reaches. It's the oldest permaculture website on the internet. Paul Wheaton founded Hermes probably back in the 90s, which, boy, doesn't that make you feel old to say back in the 90s. It's what, 2022, and I'm in my early 40s now, and thinking about back in the 90s. Friends was on television, and Seinfeld, and, you know, Saturday Night Live was still funny. The Braves were greatest baseball team in the history of baseball. And yeah, that was the 90s, and I didn't even have internet. I had a computer. My uncle was a professor, and he would always give me his old stuff, usually when it was broken, but in this instance, he gave me a working computer. And at that point in time, if I had wanted to connect to the internet, it would have been um, dial up, you know, dial-up modem, remember those? They made all those noises, and it would have cost a fortune. Probably would have been, $5 or $10 every few minutes I was online. So, we didn't do it back then. But Paul Wheaton was a computer programmer. He actually owns a site called Code Ranch, which, if you're a big computer geek, you know what that is. He's sort of a legend in the coding circles, and he got into permaculture back, in the 90s, and he started the first major permaculture website, which is still the largest in the world, and it has a large community. It's Permies.com. You get on there, you create a profile, and you can get on the forums, and you can chat with people. And I have met so many great people on there. I've been on Permies for probably 10 years. I mean, seriously. Uh, I've been on there for a long time, and I've met some of the greatest people. There's a guy on there named Bryant Redhawk, and we started communicating probably 5 years ago or so and found out we were probably vaguely related. He's a PhD soil scientist, and he's actually demystified biodynamic farming. He tells you why those like mystical biodynamic techniques work. There are people on there that are master gardeners. There are people on there that are just like wandering hippies. I mean, it's just this crazy, diverse bunch of people, probably several 100,000 people all over the world. And it's absolutely apolitical. You know, they don't allow any politics. You start talking politics, they will kick you off. I've probably been kicked off of Hermes at least twice. They're always very nice. They always let me back on. They know who I am by this time. They know I have a bit of a temper, and I'm Irish. What can I say? You know, so they cut me a little slack. But the nice thing about what they're doing is they are going to give away. This is a contest now. You can register, you can get in there, you can get on there. It will be live as of Monday morning, the 24th, which is a couple of hours from when I'm recording this podcast. They're giving away 10 copies of my new cookbook. Ebooks, you can be ebooks, they're not paperbacks. But you can sign up, you can enter the contest, and you can win a free copy of my book. And how thrilled am I to give away 10 copies of my book? Seriously. I mean, just to know there's going to be 10 people who have a copy of my book and are reading about, my family and my culture and cooking my recipes. Super thrilled. I'm not going to make a penny off of it, but, hopefully God willing, Permies doing this contest will lead more people to read about my book, and those that don't win a copy can buy a copy, right? So, you know, nothing in this life is free, but I am thrilled that if you're listening to my voice right now, you can go to permies.com, that's PERMIES.com, and you can join the forums and you can learn a ton about just about anything. I mean, the topics that come up on that forum are, I mean, people would tell you how to repair your car, how to resole your shoes, home maintenance, how to fix your furnace. I mean, these are, legitimate homesteaders all over the world. And they're giving away 10 copies of my book, which I think is awesome. So, y'all please do that, You can always find me at the Grow Network. I'm available on the forums. But Hermes is doing this giveaway. And, sign up for it. Put your name in there for a free copy of my book. If you win it, let me know. I'll communicate with you. I'll say howdy. And just share it with all your friends. Absolutely. I mean, this is a great privilege for me to give away free copies of my book. It really is. It will help me, it'll help you, it'll help everybody. So get involved and have a great time. And if you happen to see me on the forums, say hey to me. And it's a bunch of oddballs. I think if I was going to define the Permies.com forums. It would be this is where all the plant geeks and the homesteaders and the kind of nutty people hang out. And they're all real nice. And like I said, there's no politics allowed, there's no religion allowed. I get into heavy in religion, in a lot of other forums. Permies is just people talking about gardening and homesteading and no controversy whatsoever. So, you it may be your cup of tea and it may not, but you can get a free copy of my book. And I'm so grateful to the folks at Permies for doing this. I mean, these are people who have known me for about a decade, on and off, good times and bad times. We've disagreed, we've agreed, we've gotten to know each other. 30, 40, 50 people that really run the site. I don't know exactly who else in charge, but I've been listening to Paul Wheaton for a long time. If it wasn't for Paul Wheaton and some other guys, I probably wouldn't be doing a podcast. I mean, I remember 2008, probably 2008. I started listening to Jack Spirko. Jack Spirko with the Survival Podcast. Jack's a great guy. I mean, I've communicated with him off and on. He's a real character, and he did a show with Paul Wheaton. He was a guest for Paul Wheaton's podcast, and so I started listening to Paul Wheaton. You know, the same people introduced me to Marjorie Wildcraft, and I got involved with the Grow Network. Really in the same channels, I was listening to Clint Locklear and Tim Roper, my good friend Tim Roper, and they did trapping podcasts and survival podcasts, and uh, Clint's a big permaculture guy, and had it not been for people like this, I wouldn't be doing this podcast because honestly, I didn't listen to podcasts before them. I mean, literally, I started listening to Clint. I don't even know how many years ago. I mean, one of his first trapping podcasts, and through him, I met Tim Roper, who's one of the best friends I've ever had, and one of the greatest human beings to ever walk the face of this earth. And Tim, if you get to hear this, there's a big shout out to you. Um, I nothing I do would happen had it not been for your mentorship and influence. But at the same time, these guys got me listening to Paul Wheaton. And through Paul Wheaton, I got to meet people like Bryant Red Hawk. And I mean, Red Hawk, it's a Hawk, like the bird. Um, yeah, these people have been a huge influence on me. And, it's an honor. Let's just put it that way. It's an honor. And speaking of which, if you listen to me on the Prepper Broadcasting Network, I was recently asked to do a forward, FORWARD, forward for a new book that's coming out on prepping. And all this came together. I don't think any of it's by coincidence. It's all by, divine plan as far as I'm concerned. And every morning I wake up and check my email, and there's some new opportunity, some new person, some old person, someone who's been in contact for a long time who gives me a new opportunity. And, you know, that's what enables me to do what I do. I could not be writing these books and sitting here doing this podcast if it were not for my audience, and my audience is you. It's a lot of people who keep working behind the scenes to connect me with other people. And I mean, how phenomenal is that, really? I mean, it's all organic, and it all just comes together. And I've never once paid for a click, I've never once paid for an ad. People like what I do, and I like what they do, and we help each other out. And really, isn't that the way it's supposed to work? Well, anyway, let's get into Goldenseal. Now, Goldenseal, really even before ginseng, um, it was the rage. It was the herb that everyone was hunting for in the Appalachian Mountains. And fortunately, it has a range a little bit beyond the Appalachians. I mean, you can find Goldenseal down the foothills, and really even into like the Piedmont region of most of the eastern states. Probably the only herb in early America that surpassed Goldenseal was sassafras. Sassafras was really the first herb that the British colonists discovered and latched onto and just fell in love with. Sassafras is a wonderful herb. It's aromatic. It's in the same family as bay laurel, like bay leaf. It's just a really nice tea. You can make a tea from the root. You can make a toothbrush out of the root. At the time, they believed it was a cure for syphilis and other venereal diseases, so it was remarkably popular among sailors. And it was next after the fur trade, and probably after tobacco. Um, Sassafras was the first major plant-based herb export from the United States. Well, after that came Goldenseal. Now, Goldenseal was thought to be a remedy for everything. It was a cold remedy. It was a gargle for a sore throat. It was antiseptic. It was antibiotic. And it is. I mean, golden seal is really very potent. It's a very potent herb. The golden color of the root is berberine. As I have mentioned so many times, Oregon grape and barberry and coptis, which is called gold thread, all contain berberine. Golden seal was harvested beyond sustainability. It was almost wiped out. It is making a comeback now. And like I said, you can grow it in the garden. You can go to Strictly Medicinal Seeds. I'm not exactly sure what the URL is. It's Strictly Medicinal Herbs. They sell herb seeds and herb plants. You can get either small golden seal plants or you can get golden seal seeds. Now, golden seal seeds have to be stratified. They're a little tricky to grow. You don't get a great germination rate, but you can definitely get the little plants. You can transplant them out in your garden. You're going to have golden seal. Now, why would you want golden seal other than, say, Oregon grape? Well, that's up to you. If you're a traditionalist and you want to follow a lot of the old Thompsonian and eclectic medicinal formulas, if you want to focus on herbal medicine, say pre-1940, just about every formula is going to have golden seal in it. I mean, it was literally that popular. Frankly, right now, I use a lot more Oregon grape. I prefer Oregon grape. I can spot it. I can harvest it. One plant has a huge root. It's like a year's worth supply. I think it's interchangeable, and I actually kind of prefer the flavor. I mean, honestly, if I'm talking about the flavor, the taste of the herbs, I prefer Oregon grape. But, you know, you may want to have golden seal. And, going back to say, 1905. Okay, here's a good example. 1905, the Thomsonian system of medicine. They said this root is the king of tonics to the mucous membrane. It is mild, positive, and permanent stimulating tonic. Its influence, though primarily given to the mucous membrane, extends to all parts of the body. Wherever it may be required by the necessities of the vital force or influence thither, that word is thither, by its combination with other agents. What that means is, it was believed that golden seal was absolutely the greatest thing for the sinuses and the throat and the lungs and all the mucous membranes of the body, but it was a tonic for the entire body. It would be used for digestion. It stimulates appetite. It stimulates gastric juices. It was used for gastric ulceration. I'm looking right here at the Thomsonian Materia Medica. Golden seal, useful for gastric ulceration and for nervous conditions. It was believed to be a tonic and soother for the entire nervous system. They said it was one of the best agents for sustaining the venous circulation. That means it was good for the veins. It was good for the circulatory system. It was believed to be a heart tonic. Good for the arteries, of course. Good for the stomach, bronchi, bowels, urinary apparata, and genitalia. It was good for the entire body, from the mouth to the other end. It was considered the most valuable herb coming out of the Americas, especially North America. It doesn't grow as well in South America, though it can. It can certainly be grown in South America. Um, Mexico and such, outside the mountains be a little hot and dry. But, a lot of South America would be very conducive to growing golden seal. It was considered before ginseng to be America's primary herb. I mean, it was even more popular than sarsaparilla, and sarsaparilla was like the king of tonics before ginseng. It has antiviral properties. I mean, you got to remember when people were exploring the Americas, when people were traveling from Europe, they were encountering all kinds of viruses. They were getting malaria. They needed something, and golden seal was one of those primary herbs. We'll go back to 1898. Okay, King's Medical Dispensatory King's Medical Dispensatory was very influenced by the eclectic school of medicine. It kind of grew out of the eclectic dispensatory of 1847. So this is going back a ways. And, the eclectic school of medicine was really America's first, um, it was really the first American school of herbal medicine. And why was it called eclectic? Well, it was eclectic because it was combining European and British, especially herbalism, with the new herbs that were being found in the Americas. They were learning from the Native Americans and they were incorporating those herbs into a usable pharmacopoeia. And so I'm going back now to about 1852 where it stated that hydrastis, or golden seal, hydrastis being part of the Latin name, um, was the primary herb, figuring conspicuously, as they said it, among the leading eclectic drugs, and few have greater esteem. This was United States and Canada. This was where this would have been used. Said the plant is well known to botanists as yellow puccoon or orange root. Okay, the root is yellow or oranges. It's the berberine in the root. Okay, go on and talk about all kinds of history and various names it's been called. Really doesn't matter at all to us right now. Talks about how it can be found in the mountains and the foothills, especially more moist areas, but never found. They point out it's never found in wet or boggy areas. So, this is not when you're going to find the swamps. This is when you're going to find the hills. It likes a moist soil, but it likes a soil that drains well. And even in 1852, they were saying that the forests of Appalachia were full of, as they said, contented and happy root diggers that would never exhaust the resource of those regions. Well, if only that was true. They did a pretty good job of exhausting it to the point that it's one of the hardest herbs to find now. I still, to this day, stumble across wild growing golden seal. I just leave it be. There's just not enough of it. And this is one, so if you have a garden, get it going and hopefully the birds will spread the seeds and we can give it a comeback. It's definitely there's more golden seal now than there was 20 years ago. So things aren't that bad, but still, it's one we need to work with. They said this is going back to King's Medical Dispensatory around 1900. They said for many years, as that was of 1900, it had been used for many years, right? Salts of berberine and powdered hydrastis were the chief forms this drug was administered. At that point in time, there was a commercial product called Lloyd's Hydrastis that was actually a patent medicine made from golden seal. It was said to stimulate the respiratory and circulatory apparatus, imparting increased tone and power. What does that mean? Well, it means that it helps you breathe and it helps your heart beat and it helps your blood move through your body, essentially. It said arterial tension is augmented and blood pressure in the capillaries increased, rendering it valuable in overcoming blood stasis. So, again, what does that mean? Well, it means that if you had low blood pressure, it would help bring it up to normal. That's essentially all that means. Or if you had a weak heart, it would help the heart function. It said the tone imparted to the heart muscles is permanent rather than intermittent or spasmodic. Well, if that's true, that would make it better than nearly any heart medicine in the American pharmacy today. It said that it helped with the sensitivity of nerve endings. Oh, it's documented as far back as Essay Towards an American Materia Medica, which was written in 1798. And apparently in 1798, it was believed by the Cherokee to be a cure for cancer. As I always say, I don't say any herb is a cure for cancer. I always give things with the caveat of saying I don't know if it's true or not. But for 200 years or so, golden seal and berberine, which is the essential component of golden seal, which can be found in barberry and Oregon grapefruit and coptis, etc., was believed to be helpful for cancer. That's all I'm going to say about it. And it is bitter, of course. I mentioned this many times how berberine is bitter. It stimulates the saliva, it stimulates the stomach acid, it stimulates the bile. It's good for digestion, it's good for increasing appetite, it's good for blood sugar issues. It's just really good for the digestive system, and it's very good for the liver. It is one of the primary liver herbs. It will reduce liver inflammation and increase liver function. But interestingly, the golden seal especially was not only uh, believed good for liver function in by the pharmacists, by the dispensatories, by the apothecaries around 1900, but it was a primary cold remedy. It was good for congestion. It was good for clearing the lungs and tonifying the lungs. And like I said, really from one end to the other. I mean, literally, they said it was good for everything from hemorrhoids to bronchitis. So, it was much used. This is a cornerstone of early American medicine. It was believed to be a tonic for the uterine. It was believed to be good for cervical and pelvic cellulitis. As much of a panacea as one can think of, golden seal was considered. Good for boils, carbuncles, ulcers, acne, sciatica. I mean, you can go on and on and on. That's why it was overused. But specifically in the medical documents of circa 1898, 1900, they said that hydrastis, that's golden seal, is specifically indicated in catarrhal, that's mucus congestion, states of the mucous membrane when unaccompanied with acute inflammation. An apparent exception to this is acute purulent odiosis media, in which it is said to act better than in chronic conditions. Anyway, it was believed good for, stated good for, I guess I should say, gastric irritability, irritations in parts with feeble circulation, that means poor circulation, okay? Cold hands and feet, poor circulation. Muscular tenderness and soreness, um, passive hemorrhages from uterine and other pelvic tissues, skin diseases, and gastric abnormality. There's very little in our modern pharmacopoeia, I guess you would say, that has as many uses as golden seal was, in which golden seal was employed 100 years ago, and basically none with more research. I mean, people not only swore by this herb, but doctors and pharmacists and medical researchers of the time did huge amounts of papers. You could probably fill a library with all the uses of golden seal. In the tradition of the Lumbee Indians, um, sort of my side of the family, going back into eastern North Carolina, um, Arvis Locklear Bowman and Loretta Oxendine stated that Lumbee herbal experts consider golden seal to be a tonic remedy to stimulate the immune response. They also believe the plant was antimicrobial, and yes, berberine is antimicrobial. Cat Lowry was a Lumbee midwife. I think I knew her granddaughter, could have been her daughter, but I'm thinking it was her granddaughter. Um, Cat Locklear, no, Cat Little Turtle. Yeah, that's right, Cat Little Turtle. But anyway, Cat Lowry was a Lumbee midwife and healer. Suggested that her patients use golden seal to treat internal bleeding. In modern use, like what an herbalist would tell you today, According to Plants for a Future, golden seal was traditional medicine of the North American Indians and is still widely used in Western herbal medicine, of course. In 19th century, it acquired a reputation as a heal-all and was grossly overcollected from the wild and has become rare in the east of its range. It is now being cultivated on a small scale. Yeah, people are growing it. They're like farming it. You can actually buy golden seal again. And it is also let's see, it is especially valued in the treatment of disorders of the digestive system and mucous membranes, and is extremely useful in treatment of habitual constipation. The root is the active part of the plant, harvested in the autumn after the plant has died down. Basically, anytime you're going to harvest roots of an herb, you're always going to get them in the fall or the winter. The top part of the plant's died down. All the nutrition and energy, a lot of starches basically, are stored up in the root, and that's when the root's the strongest. That's all they're saying here is it's harvested in the autumn. But according again to Plants for the Future, it is said to be antipyredotic, antiseptic, astringent, cholagogue, diuretic, laxative, stomatic, and tonic. It is used mainly in treatment of disorders affecting the ears, eyes, throat, nose, stomach, intestines, and vagina. The root contains the alkaloid hydrastine, berberine, and cannadine. Now, berberine is the main component. Okay, berberine is antibacterial. It's effective against broad spectrum bacteria and protozoa. It increases bile secretions and acts as an anticonvulsant. It's a mild sedative and it lowers blood pressure. But, that's only one aspect. The hydrastine and the cannadine are also, um, I would say, less powerful alkaloids, but very useful. And that's why sometimes we may want golden seal as opposed to another plant that contains berberine. The golden seal seems to be, I would say, more generally effective for the heart, for the lungs, and for cold and flu. You don't want to take golden seal for long periods of time because of that antimicrobial aspect. It can actually disrupt your gut flora. If you had a lot of golden seal for a long period of time, it could actually really, screw up your digestive system. Whereas for a short period of time and in small doses or periodic doses, like having a little bit before a meal, it stimulates and it gets things going. It's going to help you, digest your food more efficiently and more comfortably. But without a doubt, I never recommend any herbs being used during pregnancy. But golden seal is definitely an herb you don't want to use during pregnancy. It could cause serious problems. Externally, as a wash, the antimicrobial properties make it a good mouthwash, good for vaginal infections, gum disease, anything like that, and good for sores and wounds and ulcerations on the skin. That just like I've said before, Oregon grape or barberry can actually save your life if you're in the woods and you got cut, you have an open wound. If you can find that root and you can make a tea of it, it can help disinfect that wound. It can prevent infection, it can prevent gangrene. Again, the berberine in the golden seal is used for the same way. And it was a very popular wound treatment, a disinfectant, something to prevent infection in that wound. In early America, in a time before we had uh, Neosporin or an antibiotic ointment, people used it and it was a lifesaver. You know. So get this one going in your garden. You're going to find 100 uses for it. I mean, obviously, looking back at King's Medical Dispensatory, it was probably the most useful herb in America at the time. and probably still would be today had it not been almost harvested to its extinction. So that pretty much wraps up Goldenseal, and I think that pretty much wraps up this week's show. Go to Hermes.com on Monday. This show should come out about Monday morning, and you will be able to register and win a book. You can win one of my books. 10 lucky people will get a free copy of my cookbook, Omnivore's Guide to Home Cooking, for preppers, homesteaders, permaculture people, and everyone else. And I'd love for you to get a free copy. I mean, I'm going to be thrilled for you if you get a free copy. I'd also love for people to buy my book, obviously. That's what funds this enterprise, is the sale of books. Please go to Amazon.com if you want a paper copy, a hard copy, paperback. You can find it on Amazon.com, or you can get the ebook directly from me. That's judsoncarroll.com or southern-appalachian-herbs.blogspot.com. Y'all have a great week, and I will talk to you next time.
The information in this podcast is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease or condition. Nothing I say or write has been evaluated or approved by the FDA. I'm not a doctor. The U.S. government does not recognize the practice of herbal medicine, and there is no governing body regulating herbalists. Therefore, I'm really just a guy who studies herbs. I'm not offering any advice. I won't even claim that anything I write or say is accurate or true. I can tell you what herbs have been traditionally used for. I can tell you my own experience and if I believe an herb has helped me. I cannot nor would I tell you to do the same. If you use an herb anyone recommends, you are treating yourself. You take full responsibility for your health. Humans are individuals and no two are identical. What works for me may not work for you. You may have an allergy, a sensitivity, an underlying condition that no one else even shares and you don't even know about. Be careful with your health. By continuing to listen to my podcast or read my blog, you agree to be responsible for yourself, do your own research, make your own choices, and not to blame me for anything ever.